What if I told you the Bible once held a goddess? What if I told you she stood at the beginning of creation, laughed with God, built the cosmos, and then was buried, silenced, and scapegoated for the world's suffering? Her name is Sophia, and today we're bringing her back. Welcome to Sovereign Reality with Natalie, a podcast for women done playing small. I'm Natalie, metaphysical guide and metaphorical keeper of the flame. Each week, we will channel the power of a different goddess, her myth, her message, and her medicine, so that you can rise, reclaim, and remember who the hell you are. The world doesn't need you quiet, babe. It needs you lit up. So let's rise. Welcome back, beautiful souls, to Sovereign Reality. This is episode 9, and we are making it count. Because today we are talking about Sophia, the goddess of wisdom, the one patriarchy tried to erase, the one who has been hiding in plain sight in scripture, philosophy, and even the walls of churches. Sophia is not just an idea. She's not just wisdom in an abstract, dusty sense. Sophia is divine feminine wisdom embodied. And the truth is, if we remembered her as she truly is, entire religious empires would collapse. Because Sophia whispers the most radical thing of all. You don't need anyone else to tell you what's true. You already know. But let's start at the beginning. The word Sophia in Greek literally means wisdom. But she's not just a concept. She's personified. She shows up in Jewish scriptures in books like Proverbs and the Wisdom of Solomon as Lady of Wisdom. In Proverbs 8, she says, I was with him from the beginning. I was beside him as a master worker, and I delighted day by day, rejoicing always before him, rejoicing in his whole world. Can you imagine? Lady Wisdom as the co-creator of the cosmos, not silent, not subservient, but laughing, playing, building. She's the divine architect, the artist at the side of the creator. Now, in apocryphal texts, the books that didn't make it into the Bible because, patriarchy, she shows up even more boldly. In the Wisdom of Solomon, she's described as a breath of the power of God, a pure emanation of the glory of the Almighty. She's radiant, uncontrollable, and everywhere. And then we hit the Gnostic texts. And this is where things get spicy. In Gnosticism, Sophia is central to the whole drama of existence. She's the one who dares to step outside the upper realms of perfection. She descends into the chaos of matter, and in doing so, she sparks creation itself. But here's the twist. The patriarchal church fathers told this story as a fall, a mistake. They said Sophia screwed up, that her desire caused disorder, that she was the reason suffering entered the world. They made wisdom herself the scapegoat for existence. So what happened? How did we go from Sophia the cosmic architect to Sophia the silent footnote? First, the church stripped her of her body. She wasn't a goddess anymore. She became an attribute of God, just an abstract quality. The living, laughing Lady Wisdom was reduced to a theological concept. And then they swapped her out. Where Sophia once stood as the feminine face of God, the church elevated Mary instead, but not Mary in her fullness and power. Instead, Mary was stripped of her power and then pressed into the roles of virgin and mother and kept far away from anything that might look like sovereignty or power. And then there's the Hagia Sophia, literally holy wisdom. This grand cathedral in Constantinople was dedicated to her, to wisdom. But even there, her identity was blurred, absorbed into the male god. Over centuries, that building was fought over, converted from church to mosque to museum, and back again. Sophia's name remains carved in stone, but her goddess presence was erased from the story told inside. This is patriarchy's greatest trick, to bury the feminine divine while pretending she never existed. But let's retell this the way it deserves. Sophia did not fall. Sophia leapt. She descended into matter, not out of error, but out of love. She looked at creation and said, I will not remain distant. I will enter the chaos. I will plant my spark in the human soul. Sophia's so-called mistake is actually her rebellion. She refuses to stay in the safe, sterile perfection of heaven. Instead, she chooses embodiment. She chooses shadow and light. She chooses us. And in doing so, she gives us the most radical truth, that the divine is already within. That every time you trust your intuition, every time you honor that inner knowing, Sophia rises. Patriarchy couldn't handle her because Sophia dismantles the hierarchy. You don't need a priest to interpret God for you. You don't need a king to mediate your worth. Sophia whispers wisdom lives in you. You are sovereign. And that's the most dangerous message of all. For me, Sophia came alive on a personal level back in early 2016. I really started tapping into writing. And I actually reached out to one of my older sisters and asked her about possible pen names. I didn't know much about Sophia at that time, but my sister had said that if she'd ever had a little girl, she was going to name her Sophia. She always liked that name. And I was like, Natalie Sophia. I kind of like that. And I adopted it as my pen name. It was only later that I realized Sophia as the goddess. I will say that I do have a book that I have not read through entirely, but as I started to tap more into my feminine essence and heal a lot of my feminine wounding, I was searching for so many answers in so many different places. And the book Sophia, I don't even remember how I found it, if I'm honest, but I ended up with it. And I remember reading it on the bus on my way to work, because the company that I work for, they have like a park and ride. So you park your car and then take a bus or shuttle to work. Anyway, I remember reading it and just feeling more and more angry that the feminine principle has just been constantly shoved in the dark or buried or suppressed to the point where we don't even recognize it, especially if you grow up in religion and you're constantly fed this message that women are a second-class citizen, if anything, or they're evil because of how Eve was depicted in the Bible. And I feel like as little girls, and then eventually women, we aren't able to access our power in the same way that men are. Little boys are taught basically that this world is theirs, that everything in this world is for them, that they are the male species and therefore they rule all. And I just have always felt like nothing could be further from the truth. And from everything that I have read about matriarchal societies, it's always been a balanced world. The male and female work together as stewards of the earth. But I feel like patriarchy has just taken the pendulum and swung it way too far over to the left or the right, whichever way. Either way, the pendulum is not balanced at present. So the feminine principle of Sophia and God, goddess, right? She's the feminine version of God, has always fascinated me and stood out to me. And anytime I work on crown chakra stuff, I always invoke her. But there have been times when I've done Reiki on women and she'll come through. Not for everybody, but some women. And there's an instant recognition or connection there. And I love being able to help women in that regard, especially if I notice the crown chakra is a little blocked, or maybe they just need an extra little oomph in their metaphysical practice or their spiritual practice, whatever the case may be. So encouraging them to contact Sophia and ask for help and ask for that divine guidance is just something so special to me. Aside from that, I have watched countless near-death experience videos. I, for a while there, was like kind of low-key obsessed with them. And I couldn't help but make this connection between what I was hearing and what I have learned. And that is, most people experience a feminine, masculine presence when they go to the other side. They're like, a lot of times people have said it's not a male energy, but it's also not feminine. It's like this energy that encapsulates both or holds both male and female energies. And that is their experience of God, of the Creator, of this higher consciousness that we all come from and that we will all return to. So if you're ever curious about those, please go check them out. They are fascinating to watch, and pretty much everybody comes back with the same lesson, that we are here to love and we are here to be loved and we are here to be loving people and always do loving things for others and the world, of course, at large. That's what we're here supposed to be doing here. This separation, this hate is not serving anything. And at the end of the day, that separation and that hate 9 times out of 10 is fueled by, well, fear, number one, but religion is a big problem in that. I'm going to be straight with you. And then, of course, the patriarchal narrative is also another big problem. So in my experience with Sophia, a lot of times when I pray at night, I will say Mother, Father, God, because it's both. And I do feel that this earth needs both. We need both energies. It doesn't matter how you identify. We need both energies to balance this world. Any extreme in one way or another on a personal level, micro, to a macro level does not serve. Eat way too much sugar and see what happens. Be a total jerk to everybody around you and see what happens. Stop caring about the environment and see what happens. Do you get what I mean? And the reverse is also true. Take good care of your body and see what happens. Take good care of others and see what happens. Take good care of Earth, Mother Earth, and see what happens. We need a balance. I don't believe this world is meant to be just absolutely consumed by masculine energy, by rigid thought systems, and by just that, again, that take energy. I just really feel that this is not what this earth is for. And we have gotten so lost in this narrative, and it needs to be corrected. So calling on Sophia, calling on that mother goddess to help in situations, help within yourself first, because you can't help others if you're not feeling helped for yourself. So you help you first, and then you help others. We can't pour from an empty cup. Same with our spiritual practice. We have to be centered, and we have to be in touch with our sovereignty before we can extend a hand to others who are in need of our assistance, or whatever the case may be. Now, let's talk about how you can actually connect with Sophia, because wisdom is not about memorizing doctrine. Wisdom is about embodying truth. So here's a simple ritual that you can do at home. As always, the ritual will be in the show notes, so please refer back to them if you are not in a space right now to perform this ritual. And if you are, fantastic. So what you'll need is a candle, a glass of water, and a notebook or journal. I really do try to keep these rituals as simple as possible, as short and sweet as possible. Of course, take your time with it. There is no rush, truly. I was just very mindful when I started this podcast that I never wanted to offer up something that's going to take you hours on end, or you're going to have to go find things that you don't have or are not easily accessible to you. So the first thing we're going to do is set the space by lighting our candle and sitting with our glass of water. And I invite you to imagine Sophia's light flickering in the flame, her depth flowing in the water. And you'll speak her name aloud by saying, Sophia, Holy Wisdom, I invite you in. Feel how her name moves through your body. And then you're going to ask your question. It can be simple. What do I need to see? What truth am I avoiding? What wisdom do you want me to embody? Speak it into the water. And then sip slowly. So you're going to drink from the glass, imagining wisdom entering, not from outside, but activating what's already within. Next, you will just sit in silence for a few minutes, noticing any sensations, images, or emotions, and then write down whatever comes, even if it feels messy. You will close this ritual with gratitude, blowing out the candle, thanking Sophia and trusting that the wisdom unfolds over time. This ritual is simple, but I promise you it is powerful, and it teaches us that wisdom isn't downloaded from the sky. It is remembered from within. Sophia's story reminds us that wisdom has always been feminine, embodied, untamable. She was buried, silenced, scapegoated, but she never left. She's been here all along, in our intuition, in our laughter, in our knowing. Reclaiming Sophia means reclaiming the goddess of wisdom within you. It means saying, I am sovereign, I am divine, I am wisdom embodied. And that, my loves, is the truth that patriarchy can never kill. If today's episode stirred something inside you, share it with a fellow goddess, a soul sister, or a babe who's ready to rise. And as always, you can follow me for more Sacred Rebellion on TikTok and Instagram at Sovereign with Natalie. And for deeper resources and free rituals, sign up for my emailing list at www.sovereignsanctuary.space. As always, I promise not to spam you. I just want to send you 1 to 2 emails per month with rituals or guidance that I think will truly serve you and your highest good. Anyway, babes, join me next week for the season 1 finale of Sovereign Reality with Natalie. We're going to gather up all of the goddesses we've met this season, sit with them in a circle, and weave their wisdom together. Think of it as a sacred recap, a remembering, and a way to carry their energy with you into your own life. You won't want to miss it. Until then, stay wild, stay sovereign, stay sacred, and keep rising, because the world doesn't need you quiet, babe. That's your divine download for the week. If this episode lit your fire, share it. Leave a review and subscribe so the flame keeps burning bright. If you want more Sacred Rebellion, you can come find me on Instagram and TikTok at Sovereign with Natalie. Remember, you are the storm. You are sovereign. Stay wild, stay sacred, and keep rising.